For what purpose is Mr. Bishop seek recognition?
Speak on the amendment.
The gentleman is recognized.
It does seem to me, this is the, just yielding to the gentleman, make sure, because I was talking to Mr. Government, but this is the one about the threat tag edu officials. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. That's the amendment.
So, you know, we've had charges and countercharges, and I regret that members of the majority have twice had to have retract words to avoid having them taken down. And we really ought to be able to have a discussion around this. You know, it's interesting. I think one thing I've seen is I've come up here and been here a relatively short period of time.
I didn't retract any words.
Did somebody interrupt me?
I just asked if you would yield because I didn't retract any words.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Then I'd ask his words to be taken down. He retracted his retraction.
The gentleman from North Carolina has the time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And I understand why there's a little indiscipline there about because you feel badly about what you've said, I'm sure. But, you know, it is striking that we have this situation. Of course, the people on this side of the dais believe we've hit upon something that's of grave concern. We've articulated it, I think, reasonably well. On the other side of the dais, people their breath is taken away. Some have said that we would be concerned about this. But Mr. Biggs's amendment is so simple. How about some show of good faith? Here we are. You know, that we wouldn't know anything about the edu officials threat tag. And I hope I'm not repeating, Mr. Biggs, what you said. As I said, I was partially distracted for a moment. But we wouldn't know that there's a threat tag created, popularized, disseminated around the FBI by the Counterterrorism Division to establish this threat tag edu officials to associate it with parents of school children who went to protest at their school boards. We wouldn't know about it except for an FBI whistleblower. Somebody who came forward, and for the people who are watching at home, I hope somebody is, that they don't even, that it's a, I mean, that's a discretionary disclosure, a confidential disclosure under statute by an FBI agent doesn't reveal his identity in order to avoid retaliation within the FBI. That's the whole reason we know that this threat tag was established by the Counterterrorism Division. And so all in the world that you've asked in this amendment, I think, is that no funds be authorized to go about using that threat tag. I would love to know much more about the threat tag. Why is the Counterterrorism Division involved? I mean, we heard when the U.S. Attorney from the state of Washington testified a week ago before the Crime Subcommittee on that screen that I'm looking at over there, that's where I saw it, and I asked him what sort of threats he was aware of involving school boards, school officials, that he related or imparted to others when he had his assigned meeting by the Attorney General, and he said he wasn't aware of a single one, nor that anybody in those meetings could relate any such threats. In fact, the way he characterized it, he didn't see any threats warranting a nationwide scope of action. And yet we know this was done. So if there's the slightest good faith desire on the part of the majority that's putting this bill through a markup to allay the concerns that are triggered by that sequence of events, even until, you know, notwithstanding that we have been denied the opportunity to obtain a full accounting about it, then what a simple amendment. What would be wrong with that? What would be wrong with taking one step to assure the minority that the concern is genuinely about the threat of domestic terrorism that confronts us all, not about the sort of stuff we see in the Homeland Security Threat Bulletin that I read from earlier, talking about misleading speech, you know, that is disinformation and misinformation about COVID-19. That is a whole nother animal. And this is such a simple amendment. I thank the gentleman for the amendment, and I look to see whether or not the majority is interested in making the slightest gesture to to reassure the minority about what the motivation is that is at hand. And with that, I yield back.